Welcome to the Horror Friendly Podcast.
It's not over because that bitch is dead.
Let's delve into that a bit deeper.
I'm going to be like the peacekeeper between you two tonight.
Yeah, fuck with the original.
Yeah, don't fuck with the original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season of the Horror Friendly Podcast, part of the You Run Podcast Network. I remembered.
Yes, we're not out of practice yet.
My name is Katie, and I am joined by Chantelle. Hey, Chantelle.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Ready for this?
Good. Yeah, feeling refreshed after a little break, ready for the next season.
Yeah, ready.
Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it? Like we're like, yeah, I need a break, and then we take a break, and I'm like, when are we going? When are we going?
Yeah, when are we going back into it? Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think we've got a few good films for this season. I think we've got a few different ones, which I think people might be a bit surprised at, like kind of more rogue ones, but they're not 100% set in stone. But yeah, I mean, we're doing all right.
As well, not to like dob ourselves in, but I think this is the least organized we've been pre-season. But I think we were just so excited to like get going again.
Yeah, I think we've just kind of thought, let's just like at least know the first few that we're doing, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, Charlie's still very much with us on the podcast. She's hasn't got any internet basically,
Such a first
so she can't.
problem.
Yeah. So she can't be with us this week, but she's very much part of season 8, and she'll hopefully be back for the next one.
Yes. But let's crack on with this one. So we have decided to kick off our 8th season with Saw 3, the 2006 horror crime. Jigsaw orders his apprentice to kidnap a doctor in order to keep him alive while he watches his other apprentice put a man through a brutal test. I'm assuming you've seen this before. I'm assuming this is not a first time watch one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times. I actually remember watching it fairly recently. I don't know whether I was just going through a phase of watching some of the Saw films and I just thought, fuck it. But I remembered quite a lot from this film. But yeah, I think this is one of my favorite Saw films, actually.
Really?
I think so. Like it's definitely one of the most violent, I would say. And it's got a really good ending, I think. Like 2 of the main characters of the franchise like die. Like and it's pretty mad. What about you? I guess it's not your first time either.
No. I'm trying to remember if this was one I would have watched with you, because I think by the time this came out, like 2006, and again, by the time we were watching them, we were wondering if we were just watching them together. It is interesting when you say, actually, I didn't look it up, and I'm now going to say this and sound really stupid. Were they only supposed to do like 3 and done? Is that why they killed off 2 of the main ones at the end?
I don't know. You would think that, because obviously they're killed off. I mean, you know, this is a fully spoiler podcast, so we'll just say it. Jigsaw and Amanda. I mean, maybe that's a good point. Maybe they were just thinking like 3 and done, but I can't imagine. I'm sure that they looked at this and just saw dollar signs and were like, we've got to make a shit ton of these. Like, surely.
Because I imagine if you're going to do, obviously most people just plan the first film. If you're going to extend, it is normally to 3. So I wonder if they kind of had that plan, but they'd also already established that John Kramer was dying of cancer.
True.
So I guess they couldn't be like, well, he's going to be in 20 films, because
exactly.
Also, cancer aside, he's old. I don't know how old he's supposed to be, because they have aged him because of his illness. But he's also like quite old. I was like, he wasn't going to be popping up in 20 years, 30 years, maybe. Watch it come out that he's actually like 40.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've got a point. And also, like, at the time this coming out, I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is a standard trilogy. Like, it's done now. So maybe that's what they were doing to either like throw people off, or maybe they did think it was going to be the end of them. But I just find it very hard to believe that like they were like, oh yeah, we're completely done with this franchise.
Annoyingly, I hate, this is one thing I hate when I get the question while recording, because now I can't look it up. I mean, I'll try as we do this if I'm playing on my phone. That's why. The other thing I've just read, obviously, I read the description out, and it said while watching his other apprentice put a man through a brutal test. Wasn't it the same apprentice? Wasn't it both Amanda?
So what's the description again? Read it out again.
So Jigsaw orders his apprentice to kidnap a doctor in order to keep him alive, while he watches his other apprentice put a man through a brutal test. So, but Amanda kidnapped the doctor, and it was Amanda
who was put through the test.
There wasn't a second apprentice, was it? That's just worded badly.
That's just worded badly. Yeah.
Okay.
It was Amanda's test. So
yeah, it was all about her.
Yeah.
Well,
but that doesn't make any sense.
I was suddenly at that moment. I was, I'm sure there wasn't. I'm sure I didn't miss like a huge part of this. That's quite funny, but yeah.
I'm really sorry to throw us off right now, but I absolutely love whatever you're wearing, and it's seriously giving the kimono thing is seriously giving Buffalo Bill.
This is just my cardigan. I was wearing it at work. Do you know what's really funny? And again, this is like, I'm not going to stand up because this is literally only really covering my chest. I ordered it and it was like a size large, and it turned up, I swear, like I couldn't have fit it on my teddy bear. And I knew it was going to be a crop top, but I didn't quite think it was going to be as high. And because I'm sat and you can't see that high anyway, so it's fine. But it was really funny because I was just sort of put it on and I was like, well, this is why I have trust issues with sizing, because it's not large.
Well, it looks great.
Thanks.
It was just the cardigan was kind of giving Buffalo Bill.
Well,
vibes.
now I want to take the cardigan off, but it doesn't. But it completes the look.
No, don't. It's a good thing.
If I wander off at some point and come back with a blanket, he's made me paranoid.
I'm sorry. It was meant to be a compliment. I'm sorry. Anyway, tangent over. Anyway. Yeah. So Amanda, this was Amanda's test. There wasn't anything else going on, so I'm not really sure what that description means.
No. But it's obviously based. Oh my god, actually, what was straight right? So let's start at the beginning. Because we start with the I've already forgotten the police officer's name, but she's obviously trying to find the guy who died in the last film.
Yes, Detective Matthews.
Yes, and they come across it's like an old abandoned school, and is the guy hooked and chained up, getting pulled apart, and then they're like, "Why did you have to break into this room? Like these tests aren't solvable." So that I thought was quite a good kickoff to these films, film, because obviously we know the point is that Jigsaw's testing your will to live. So to suddenly flip that and be like, nah, there's no actual way to survive it.
Yeah.
I thought that was, although I fuck that first one.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why Saw 3's always stuck in my head, because I've always remembered Troy's death, like that one. And I remember when I first watched it, I wasn't able to watch that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, as years have gone on, I've been able to watch it, but it's a really fucking brutal one, isn't it?
I think it's funny as well, because this is one of the few films where the extras who are literally there to die get a name because of the tapes.
Yeah.
So it's one of the few horrors where they get a name, a backstory, and a good death, and they're literally on screen for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's so good.
But it's not so much as well, like the skin pulling. Yes, it's really hard to watch, but in theory it's quick, but it's that one through his mouth. How do you survive? You can't just pull that out without, like, what are you supposed to do? Rip your jaw off? I don't get how that one was supposed to work.
No. Well, I guess that was all part of like Amanda's plan. Like, it wasn't, I suppose it wasn't meant to be solvable. So I guess the trap as well wasn't meant to be solvable. Like, kind of like Kerry's one later down the line, with the rib cage. Like,
but it's when she realizes as well. Like, you literally see her complete it and then go, yeah, I'm dead. And it's that like hands up, hold on, acceptance. It was so badass, because rather than like, obviously she saw Amanda walk in, so rather than just like letting her see any fear, she just like braced. I was like, she's a badass.
So you're completely right. So there would be no way for him to rip that out without, like you say, like bleeding out and ripping his jaw off. So, but I think that was all part of the unsolvable.
Like, he'd have to go through bone. I just don't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be physically possible to survive that, I don't think.
No. That was when you see that one, I was like, and again, I think I said this when we did one of the other saws, because I was like, you don't have long to think about what you're doing. And I think that was always a big play in. But if I realized that, well, I'm never going to get this one out, would I start pulling? I'm like, just fucking kill, like, just blow me up because it's going to hurt less. Like,
yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. There was just that. But again, like with the acid, I was like, as soon as they were like, you have 1 minute at the end of this video, I'd have already had my hand in there before the video was over.
Yeah.
But then it would have been also a minute was really, I know it was quite a self-explanatory simple one, but a minute is not a long time. I swear they used to get at least 3.
It's insane. And like the fact that she did it.
Yeah.
Ugh, savage. And then that's when you knew it wasn't a typical saw trap, and you saw someone walk in who was obviously Amanda. But like, yeah, they didn't really hide that very well.
No, I was going to say, because you don't normally see, well, to be fair, actually, we did know that Amanda was involved at this point because of Saw 2.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, you don't normally see Jigsaw watching.
No.
But I suppose he did even in the first one. He was just on the floor the whole time.
And then she's like, you. So like she recognizes her. And so like, yeah, you're like, oh, okay, it's probably Amanda, but
Oh, it's a rough one. Rough start.
Yeah, it gets you into it though. It's like quite a nice quick film, I feel.
Yeah, and it's also that, oh, sorry, I'm skipping so back and forth. You just said her name. When she's in her bedroom, again, if I was fucking FBI or police trying to figure out these crimes, would I go home?
Yeah, I know.
Like, I would always be at the station, because anyone that investigates this ends up dead. So I would literally never leave the station, always have like 30 people around me. And it is that, like, the camera in the cupboard is, I really like that. That's really creepy when you can like, see it on the TV. That's good. I think that's well done.
It really, oh my God, I'm doing it again, just like fucking comparing everything to this film. But it reminded me of Scream when Randy's like, Jamie, look behind you. And he's being recorded.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of that. Everything just reminds me of fucking Scream, I think.
I mean, where did it all begin?
But yeah. Yeah, it was good.
No, it's like you say, it's a very quick opener, and then it's like, okay, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're introduced to our like main characters, I guess, because that kind of feels like, okay, shit, that's all done. And then you've got Lynn, who's the doctor at the hospital, who then gets kidnapped by Amanda, we find out. I mean, yeah, I mean, that was all like a fucking head fuck as well.
They've made Lynn very unlikable. And I know, like, actually, to be fair, I feel like that is also a pattern in the Saw films. Like, you want them to survive, but they're not always the most likable characters.
No.
No. And especially like this. Yeah, so it was a bit of an odd one. She also was with her affair partner at the beginning, wasn't she? Not her husband.
Yeah, it was her affair partner, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how they kept that. You didn't know they were married till the end. Annoyingly, we watched it so long ago, I can't remember if I figured it out or not. I probably didn't.
No, I don't think I did when I watched it. It's because also the affair guy was like, I want a divorce, like meaning he wants them to divorce. But at the time you just think, oh, it's just a woman that doesn't appreciate her husband. Like that's why she's been kidnapped, but you don't know the half of it until Jeff gets introduced and then you kind of work it all out.
I felt, obviously we do see Jeff at home a bit before he's kidnapped. I just felt so horrible for his daughter. Like, I mean, Jigsaw even says it like, oh, you're neglected child, I think.
Yeah.
And it is so true. She just wants a hug. She just wants to like hug her brother's toy and she's not allowed to. And I was like, this is actually heartbreaking.
I know. It's so sad. I mean, I feel even more sorry for her at the end. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to it. But...
We'll get to that, but Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, that's...
yeah, I felt... Yeah, so then you did think it was two separate things. You just thought like, oh, she just happened to be a doctor that's kind of like doesn't really appreciate her life and that he's separate. So you just think they're just two completely separate like narratives. Jeff frustrated me though because he was so slow in helping everyone. And I know he was going through his own grief and he was debating whether to help them. And there was a big moral dilemma going on. But like, come on, Jeff, like once you decide, let's speed this up.
I think it's much harder as well. Like it's all well and good, like when he's at home and he's like kind of acting out, oh, I'm going to kill you, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But when you see someone suffering, it's so much harder not to act. Like, so that kind of threw me that he wasn't immediately trying to act and help, because as you say, he was just so slow. But also, I just found it very interesting. I don't know if they did it on purpose or if they were trying to throw off stereotypes. I'll explain a bit more because I think I'm just wording it wrong. But out of his 3 people that he was really angry at, it was a woman, a white old man, and a black guy. And the only one he saved was the white old man. And I was like, that's not great. Okay, right. The only person you saved here is the one that looks like you. But then because the woman was first and he was still figuring out the game, I was like, I feel like it wasn't intentional. When it came to the black guy, again, I think they had him, obviously he was being tortured, so he immediately started shouting. So they're almost kind of playing into that angry stereotype. But he's also being tortured, so you're not going to react all calm. And then they tried to flip the script, like, oh, but he's a med student, and then they put glasses on him to like make him look nerdier and kind of try and break that. But he still ends up dying. So I'm like, and then so does the white guy as well. So I was like, you haven't.
Yeah, good point.
And it was a weird one because I was like, I don't think they're. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I'm not going to say the film was being racist. But I was like, I don't think you thought that through when you picked the 3 victims.
That's a good point.
Or maybe they did, and it was they were making a statement, and it's just never really been thought that way.
Maybe
that's I'm the first person to have that thought. No, I am, but
no, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point. Interesting. Don't know. Maybe we need to look into it. Maybe it is a thing.
I know I haven't had time to do all this like background research. I say I keep complaining. Sorry. It is interesting. There, I was just like, really? Of those 3, you only saved the old white guy?
Yeah.
The judge, the one with power.
Yeah.
Fuck. But the judge was right when he said, like, it doesn't matter if you kill me, it doesn't matter if you kill him. It won't make you feel better. Like, I could have given him a 200-year sentence, it wouldn't have brought your son back.
Yeah.
And it's so horribly true.
I can't remember. I think with the woman, he does have he tries at the end, doesn't he? Like, he doesn't try very hard, but he does have a change of heart. I think he says sorry or something when she dies.
I think he did kind of just react a bit too late. I think a bit of that was probably just not realizing how quick she was going to die.
Yeah.
So, and again, he just kept hesitating because it was a lot of like processing who this woman was in front of him. I do wonder that, like, had he not played the tape, would he have come in and just immediately saved her? But because that kind of made him hesitate a bit. Or was it, I don't know, was it that for a minute he wanted to see her suffer, and then once she started suffering, he realized he couldn't stomach it?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the tape needed to be played so he knew who they were. Otherwise, he probably would have just immediately tried to save them.
Yeah.
But because, he's got this moral dilemma of like, I want to see these people suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, even with the lawyer, like, I know, the judge, I know that he does save him eventually. But again, he's just like, I mean, that is also just a really horrific trap.
I also don't know. I feel like there was more time with that one.
Yeah. There was.
Because she was also already like freezing. Like, as soon as I don't know if she'd already been sprayed with water or not, but she was already like.
That one seemed more unfair.
Yeah. It's a good thing she wasn't third. She would have been dead by the time he got there. Whereas the pig guts obviously took longer. But that's the idea of just being like pinned down and just been forced to drown in guts is horrific.
Isn't it horrific? It's so horrific. Apparently there were real maggots on those pigs, which is charming.
Yeah. No, I found that and I was like, oh God, that's
oh, lovely.
Why does Saw have to go real so many times? Like, did we have real needles last time?
Yep.
So bad. Like, I imagine those screams from the pit were real because. Oh, you imagine that, like, oh, I've got a role in a movie. Oh, great. What are you doing? Not sure yet. And then you turn up and that's what you've got to do.
So grim, innit? So grim.
I think I'd have been terrified at, like, just because of, like, what if it went wrong while they were filming? because they do actually have to like.
Yeah, I mean, he was properly in it. You could
was-
see.
Yeah, he was locked down. Like, with shit. Sorry, wrong key.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'd have been pissed. But yeah, burning all the kids' stuff. Also, again, like fuck Jigsaw, because doing that, I understand.
I mean, Jigsaw is literally the worst, right?
Jigsaw is a fucking dick, but I understand he's like, you need to let go, but actually he needs to let go of his anger, not of his grief. Like, you can't force someone to just get over their son's death. Like, I know he needs to learn to heal because he's neglecting his daughter. He's really angry. It's not okay. But they're like burning the stuff, and I was like, you can't just pretend his son didn't exist. You can't just get rid of everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I really didn't like that bit.
No. And like, also, well, I mean, what his point is that like, Jeff was obviously like pointing a gun in the mirror, like threatening to kill the guy that killed his son.
Yeah.
And Jigsaw claims to absolutely like hate murderers. So he's obviously, his way of justifying it is like he's preventing Jeff from becoming a murderer. But like, it's so stupid.
I'm going to stop you being a murderer by making 3 people die in the process.
Yeah, exactly. No worries. You're welcome.
I just don't understand his logic. Like, Jigsaw's logic is so flawed. He is the one. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the brain tumor that's like just really flaws his thinking.
Maybe. Because it's crazy.
It's mad. But yeah, then we have the twisty one. We are whipping through this, sorry. And then we have fuck that.
Fuck that. That's probably one of the worst I've seen. Like, if we're going chronologically, I would say it's the worst I've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
I was trying to think of, yeah, I
mean, there's loads of terrible ones out there. But like, I feel like this one and just a few, I think, from this film are probably some of the worst to me. Yeah.
The rib rip and the hair, anything with tearing. Also because I think on both of those, limbs and ribs were ripped, you wouldn't have just died instantly. Like, it would have taken a second. And like, when his head's turned, you see his eyes like cross and bulge, and it's like he knows it's coming. He's just had it done to both his arms. Has he ever done it to his legs, or am I imagining that?
Yeah, he did, I think.
Yeah. And it's like just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the fact that Jigsaw says it's his favorite one, like, you know, that's not going to be good.
No.
And also, I wonder if like this is how much of like a cunt Jigsaw is, because I wonder if he was like, this is my favorite one, to kind of like make Jeff want to watch it and want to enjoy it and make him not want to save him, because he's like, oh, this is going to be like this is where I'm going to get my, you know, my revenge or whatever. Like, I wonder if Jigsaw saying that kind of egged him on to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch this for a bit.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is it's not something like that. Like, there's a big difference between waving a gun,
yeah,
and a quick shot than there is a literally tearing someone limb from limb.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge difference. And as you say, it's like Jigsaw being like, well, you wanted to see him suffer.
Am I right in saying he does watch it for a bit?
I think I don't know if he's like at each person kind of watching it, or if he just is really bad at this and keeps freezing. He's just clearly
I think it's kind of both.
He's clearly not good in a crisis, which begs the point that actually, had he been in the woman's position on the day his son died, and it was not his kid, someone else's, he would probably have run.
Yeah.
Because actually, Jeff is not a doer.
He's not.
Which is ironic that he's then angry at other people for not being doers. And I'm like, but you're not great at it.
That's so true. Yeah. And like at the end, when, you know, with obviously the guy, and he, you know, kind of hugs him and it's just like, I forgive you. And it's like, yeah, well, that's all very well, Jeff, but I'm sure the dude would have wanted to be alive. Like, that's what you could have done. Like, the forgiveness is fine, but like,
well, when he forgives Jigsaw, or
when he forgives the dude.
Oh, the guy who killed his son.
Twisty Man. Yeah.
Twisty Man. Yeah, I forgot his name. Yes, that's
It's like, okay, fine. Like,
Forgive me, but save me.
Yeah, forgive me, but save me. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Bad.
is that weird thing is that like he's supposed to learn this lesson. Honestly, I'd have come out of that in a worse state. Like,
Yeah,
how is that supposed to help with anger? How is that supposed to help with trauma? He's just got more trauma now.
100%.
But while all of this is going on, his
Yes.
wife is also going through it. Lynn, Dr.
Lynn.
Denlon.
Oh, Lynn.
Oh, Lynn.
Yeah, so she's got to keep Jigsaw alive is
Yeah.
her, or the timer bomb thing around her neck will explode. So
But
she'll
again,
die
yeah.
if Jigsaw dies.
She'll die if Jigsaw dies, or if she wanders off.
Yeah.
But she wasn't likable. Sorry.
She wasn't.
And she wasn't likable even in the hospital. She was like really kind of. I also, every time there was like a hospital scene or the surgery scene a bit later, I was like, I really want to watch this with a surgeon or like a doctor so they can tell me how accurate this all is. Because I was trying to research some stuff and some of it is somewhat accurate.
Yeah.
But then some of it is obviously Hollywood and highly exaggerated. Well, maybe not highly, but it's exaggerated a bit. But then like the bit with the kid at the beginning, I don't know how. It's like, we need to get him to surgery, but she manages to save him with like a 5-second fix. I was like, those are two very different things. What just happened?
Yeah, apparently Lee Wennell did like contact an actual surgeon to like get as sort of accurate as possible. But yeah, you don't know, like you say, like it's accurate to a certain extent, but what after that is just kind of blockbuster, film exaggeration.
So I think that's the thing, because so for the surgery at the end, you would have to be awake for it. They do keep you awake for a lot of brain surgeries, because of they're trying to see if you can do cognitive and everything. One of the comments I found was like there was a violinist who was having brain surgery, and they made her play her violin while she was getting the brain surgery to make sure they weren't, because that's all they're doing. They're checking they haven't affected your brain or like hit you in the wrong place or anything. But that's what so they would use as well. It's medical power tools or like medical tools, which do look apparently like power tools, but they're obviously like very, very sterile and they're very, very specific, and there's a lot more control over like the speed and the pressure. Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, she's obviously cutting into his brain or into his skull, because the brain is pushing on the skull. So I was like, it would take a minor slip to go slightly too deep through the skull and hit the brain, because it's already pushing on the skull. So like, I understand they had to do it, but again, and I understand why Amanda wouldn't take him to hospital, but it just seemed a little risky.
Just a bit. Just a little bit risky.
Just to do that purely by feel I was like, that's insane.
I know. Jigsaw was doing it in the name of tests.
Yeah, purely to like, that's a lot of that's a lot of trust. Well, not, I know like he's obviously connected to her, his heartbeat to her, but that's a real sacrifice. But like, I need to test you with my own brain. What?
Yeah. Yeah, Jigsaw's really giving everything to these traps.
He really believes in them. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna fight for something, you got to believe in it, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, one point of that is, and obviously then you saying about whether they knew there were going to be future films, was when he is having the surgery and he has these flashbacks and of a blonde lady who I recognize from the future films. So there must have been some sort of, maybe then that was like an indication, like, oh yeah, well, you'll see her in future films. It was like a hint.
Because that's true, because we haven't seen her yet, had we?
No.
So yeah. And again, we suddenly get these. That I think was my kind of thing with this. There was so many flashbacks in this one. And I know that is kind of like a sore thing, is to use a lot of flashbacks. But like at the end, when he's like, Amanda, I got you, this was actually your test.
Yeah.
They do a bunch of flashbacks. And like 2 of the flashbacks happened literally 10 seconds before. And I'm like,
I know. They always do that in these films, don't they?
like kind of show you how it all connected, which is very helpful. Thank you. There's sometimes a little bit too much. Sometimes it is a bit like, it's okay, we got it. Why are you showing me what just happened? I got it.
It's like when they showed Lynn being shot, like I think it was like 5 times or something. It's like, we get it, Lynn's been shot.
I wonder again if it was like they just didn't have enough footage and they were just trying to expand it a little bit and then
maybe
show the shot from 5 angles.
Yeah.
And yet when her head exploded, like,
it's just one long shot, isn't it?
Well, you just turn around and her head's gone. Like, you didn't actually see it explode.
No.
I'm sure Imagine was just a money saver, but you just turn around and she's just got no head left. Like, it's like, oh, so Lynn died.
Lynn's dead then. Okay.
But again, it's such a dick move of Jigsaw to be like, she survived hers, but now because I'm going to wind up your husband, so you die anyway. That was all because Amanda wouldn't take the fucking necklace off.
Yeah, I mean, it's talking about characters not being very likable. Like, Amanda wasn't particularly likable in this either. I mean, yeah, I felt she was a lot more likable in the second one. A lot more kind of badass in the second one. I mean, this one she was, but she was just so, I think, like, taken over by Jigsaw at this point. Like, so jealous of anyone going anywhere near him and like possessive, and then kind of just like turns on him at the end and calls him a murderer. And yeah, but then when she's dying at the end, she does reach out for Jigsaw's hand. So yeah, it's a very complicated relationship they have.
I think that's the thing as well. Like, when we first ever see Amanda, she's our favorite, she's our damaged final girl, but she's already been through so much shit, and then she gets put in the trap for the first time, then she does it again, and it's fucking crazy. And as you say, like, the second film, she's quite a badass because it's not just her fighting for herself, she's also fighting for the kid. This one, she was kind of fighting for John, but mostly fighting for herself. And as you say, it was all jealousy, and she was back on drugs, as we saw when she was putting the box out, and it was just a bit self-destructive. And I guess this one was hard because, again, there is almost quite a bit of human emotion in it rather than just, oh, look at the gore, because you have got this girl who's finally found like a father figure, and now she's watching him die, and that is fucking horrible. So she's really, as you say, unlikable, but I also kind of get it. Yeah,
that's very true.
But then also she ended up, at the end falling out. It was so horrible as well to be just like, the way he was talking to her was a bit like talking to a child and be like, I'm disappointed in you. And I was like, that's the worst way for her to end. It was like, she finally found this guy and now she's dying thinking he's disappointed in her. That's not like,
Yeah, that's so true. It was. And it was, like you said, there was an actual like heartwarming moment where like she was dying and he was kind of emotional as he said game over. Like, it wasn't his usual sinister game over. It was like heartbreaking game over. I thought that bit was really cool.
But also just like, again, like, he's dying. Is he just trying to take down as many people with him? Like, what? I know Amanda was getting out of control because he wanted her to like carry on his legacy in the right way. But I don't know. I just feel like there's better ways to teach people than to kill them.
Yeah, there totally is.
I don't know. It was a weird one. But as we said, Kramer's a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, Kramer's a cunt. And yeah, he's ruthless. No one is safe from Jigsaw's traps. And I think also there was a part of him that was hoping that Amanda had changed and that she was gonna free Lynn and kind of complete this sort of test. And like, I think there was a part, like a hope that Amanda was gonna be successful in it. So I think there was also that as well. Like, she was sad, he was sad she was dying, but at the same time, like, he was also sad that she failed.
And I think it's one of those really irritating things. And it's like a pattern throughout all the Saw films where Jigsaw speaks we're kind of in riddles, but kind of like double meaning. So everything he said was true. Like he doesn't lie to you, but when he's like, she's more important than you know, your life is in her hands. But Amanda's not, like, she's not important to me. And it's like, actually, she really fucking is.
Yeah.
And it's that really irritating thing is like, he can't just say it because that gives it away.
I beg you to reconsider. Like when Jigsaw tells you to reconsider, you fucking reconsider.
I was going to say, like, obviously we'll do the would you survive a bit later, but if you were Amanda, do you think you could have survived? Because do you think you'd play it completely differently? Like,
it's a question for later.
Yeah. But I just feel like if you'd been working with Jigsaw a bit, you'd probably know, or hopefully know, that he's a bit of a wordsmith. So
yeah, you would know. Yeah, if you knew him. And that was also kind of an interesting point. I wonder if they did that on purpose to make it seem like maybe Amanda doesn't know him as well as, you know, she says she does, or it comes across that she does.
That's a good point.
She's so possessive of John, but like, does she really know him? Like, no, clearly not, because she's not been picking up on any of these signals.
Also, like, I don't know if she knows about his past. Like, does he know that does she know that he had a wife? Because obviously she gets incredibly jealous when he's like, I love you. Because it wouldn't even have occurred to her that Lynn isn't the one that he's saying that to. So again, like, you just feel really heartbroken for her, but at the same time you're like, dude, chill. Like, just chill a little bit. Like, he's just had brain surgery. Like, oh god, I can't believe I'm defending Jigsaw. But also, actually, she's also a bit of a wordsmith though, because at one point when they're talking about like what tools Dr. Lynn's gonna need, and she's like, I have tools to do surgery, not to save a life. And Amanda's like, you'd be surprised what tools can save a life, and picks up the bear trap. So I was like, even you are kind of twisting things. You're learning.
That's such a good point. Yeah. She's all about the riddles as well.
Yeah, like, she was starting to figure it out, just not quite enough.
Well, that's what Jigsaw was saying. Like, in his final bit, he was like, I wanted to give you a second chance, because he saw that like she was planting these unsolvable traps. Like with Adam, she just killed Adam and like just chucked the key in the bath. Like and obviously then Kerry and Troy, like she was doing things that he wasn't doing.
So yeah, Kerry was right. It was similar to Saw, but it was someone different.
Exactly, like a copycat. Yeah.
Also, is this the first one? I can't know if we saw it in the second one, but like where you see people have like a puzzle piece missing from their body.
Oh, I don't know. Possibly.
Only because like I saw it and it kind of made me laugh, because I was like, does that mean they have to go back and do that? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Good point. If anyone out there knows.
Yeah, I think it is, but I might be wrong. They might have done like flashbacks to others to be like, oh, but
maybe.
That's the other thing with all these flashbacks, is it does show that all the films are kind of linked.
Yeah.
But it is also like, how long are these films set over? Because
I know it does tie in to 1, 2, 3 1 and 2. It ties them in very nicely, this film.
Yeah.
It is very all like wrapped up in a little bow. Like, it's all very much like everything's kind of answered within these 3 films, which I quite like. Like, you go back to Adam and then more of that gets resolved, because was it number 2 that we saw Adam's body, but we obviously didn't know. We just assumed that he just rotted in there. Like, you know, that Dr. Gordon didn't come back to save him, but obviously it turns out that Amanda killed him.
No, that's at the end of number 2. But as you said, but I think that's why like the 3 of them were probably written or thought out as a trilogy.
100%.
I've got number 4. I was going to watch it and I was like, I'm going to wait till after we've recorded, because I'll get them all muddled in my head. But I think that's the thing though, because they obviously are trying to keep them all linked. So they're just so many flashbacks.
Yes.
I don't know. There was just a lot. I think it's hard with Saw. I don't really know if you could watch it as a standalone. I always thought you could, but then I was like, actually, there's so many flashbacks. I feel like you'd need to actually have watched them in order.
I agree. I think unless you're just watching it for the kills, and just as part of like a fun sort of watch, and you're not actually trying to follow the plot, I think you could probably, although I would say maybe not these first 3 or these first 4, I would say maybe onward you probably could, like you could probably sit down and give Saw 3D a watch, because you know at that point it's all gone to fucking, you know, there's all sorts going on. But if you just want to watch it for the kills, I think you could do that. But I think with these first 4 there is like a proper narrative there, and it's all linked a bit more, I think, whereas it goes a bit off the rails in the later ones.
I think that's what's weird as well, because I think we said it when we covered the others. Obviously we heard a lot about Saw growing up because we were that kind of age group. It was coming out while we were in school, everyone was watching it, and the thing everyone always talked about was the kills, obviously. So I think when I actually came around to watching it, I was really surprised how much of a story there is going on. And then when you watch all the first 3, how linked they all are, there is this overarching story, because all you hear about is the kills. So as you say, like you could go into this watching it, but then actually you wouldn't have a clue why Amanda is suffocating a guy, or why, you know, what's that cupboard scene got to do. That's, I mean, I don't know if it's a direct reference, but like in the first one when Adam gets kidnapped with and like he's shooting his camera and there's like the big guy in the cupboard, so it's kind of like a little bit linked, and it's like, oh well, this is the typical move. So you didn't need to know that, but it definitely helps.
I think you're right. Like I think you're completely right. I think when we were younger we just kind of remembered the foot scene, the first one, and bits like that. You kind of forget that there's an actual plot to this, and that all characters are kind of linked.
That foot scene as well is in the last 10 minutes, so you forget.
Literally, and you hardly see anything.
Yeah, there's an hour and a half film, and it's the only bit anyone ever talks about. It's the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. And when you actually watch them, when, you know, sort of as you're older and you kind of like rewatch them, you realize that there was a lot more to these films than just like the gore.
I'm trying to think if there was, because obviously the last one, I think, because it was in the house and it was like a group, although it was probably the needle pit, was probably the one people remembered.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think from this if there was like a specific kill people always referenced.
No, I mean, I don't know in general. I think Troy's death for me was always one that stuck with me ever since I watched it, like when I was in school. I think like it's always stuck with me that it was just the most violent one. But
actually, I imagine people probably remember the surgery more for this one.
Yeah.
Because that was really well done as well, like the close-ups and it's just, again, considering her head blowing up, and again I think it was a budget thing, her head blowing up, you don't actually see, you just see the aftermath. The fact that you watch basically the entire surgery is insane. So that was 2 very different ways of handling things.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I mean, I guess we've just got like the plot reveal, the reveal at the end.
Yeah. Final reveal.
The final reveal. So yeah, Jeff comes in, and and then it's obviously revealed that Jeff and Lynn are married, and their son died, and they've obviously got a neglected daughter at home, or we think she's at home.
I can't remember, but I feel like, I don't think it does happen. I actually haven't seen all of the Saws, but I feel like that daughter should have come back in like 10-15 years, and like just she should have been the next Jigsaw, but like only hunting members of his family. That
would be a good idea,
because like he's literally killed, well, the son was an accident, but he's literally just killed her mum and dad and been like, good luck, and left her like kidnapped in a box somewhere. Like this poor fucking kid.
Yeah, isn't it that, so like Jeff has to start a new game?
I think so. I'm really, as I say, I haven't watched the 4th one in so long, and I was like, I want to, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna watch it after this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's to do with Jeff. I can't remember. I'm not sure.
No, I remember. That's okay though, because we're only gonna spoil number 3. Like we'll try not to spoil number 4 for you.
Exactly.
Did we hear the tape that got covered in wax? You know, John like poured wax over one of the tapes.
Yeah.
Which one was that? I wonder if it comes up
scenario.
in number 4. Yeah, I wonder if it comes up in number 4.
Yeah.
But again, I
That
don't
would,
think
yeah.
they'd be able to play that. It would have been destroyed, surely.
Yeah, that would make sense. So maybe as he knew the other scenario was going to happen, he was destroying the other one. It's
Can you
like,
imagine?
okay, this isn't gonna be.
So this
I
one's not
wanna-
needed.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, he's just had his skull cut open.
Mm.
Can you imagine as he's dying if he plays that tape and then realizes it's the wrong one?
He's just like,
He's like, no, wait, that one in the wax. Wrong tape.
yeah.
Play it in reverse. It might have a devil code.
But the one thing that this scene really stood out for me was seeing kind of John's true colors as well, because sort of throughout the film you see him as this old frail man that's testing Amanda and is emotional at the end when she dies. But then when Jeff takes up, was it like this, I don't know exactly what it is that he uses to kill John. It's like a saw, but it's not a saw. It's like a
maybe it was a saw.
Yeah, like an electronic saw, like a
hand saw.
Yeah, it's something like that. But Jigsaw, John's face, he just starts like grinning, basically, like smirking.
Because he knows what's about to happen.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't care at that point if he dies because he knows.
Yeah. Because it's just the fact that like he's smiling at that situation. So like, and for a certain amount of time, you think, oh, maybe he is.
Not be funny though.
Like emotional, he's upset about Amanda, like he becomes not human, but kind of almost human. But then when you see that kind of evil smirk on his face, you know that you know who he really is.
But if you were about to kill someone and they started smirking, would you not immediately stop and be like, hang on, you want this? Like, you are tricking me. Like, that was such a...
I think at that point, Jeff was just so full of rage. And like, Lynn was dying anyway from the gunshot wound. So I think he just kind of thought at this point, it was all just kind of done.
But again, that sets me so much, though, that don't be wrong, losing his wife was horrific. But there's no one now to live for his daughter. And that, for me, is so upset. And I know... again, unlikable characters, but like I know he's lost so much, but now his daughter's lost literally everyone.
Yeah, but then Jeff didn't know that, did he?
Well,
he didn't know he was gonna die, I guess.
No, but Jigsaw even said, like, I can have an ambulance here in 4 minutes. Like, would you not have done whatever it took to get your wife looked after?
That's very true. That's very true. I can't argue with that.
Although they also announced that his wife was cheating on him right before all of this. So maybe he was just angry. Anger was his problem.
It didn't seem to come across that way. It feels like he wasn't thinking straight. But you're right. I think that like if he had a clearer head, he would have done things differently.
Yeah.
And I suppose this is the whole point of what Jigsaw does. He tests people to the point of them like nearly going insane. Yeah. So, at this point, Jeff had seen so much shit that he wasn't thinking clearly and just saw this one guy who was responsible for this and wanted to end his life and didn't look past anything, like didn't look at anything else. It was just like he was just solely focused on him. And I think that's what it was about. It was like testing people. And Jeff was like fully kind of being tested as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, you are right. Like,
but you're right. Like, it could have been so easily resolved.
Also, yeah, no, you are right, because he even says, like, I was your final test. Like, motherfucker.
No, I mean, yeah, and then when it all comes down to it, you think, fuck me, like they've already lost their son, and they're being put through this.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Oh no, actually, I don't even want to go there. Like. So, hi, welcome to grief counselling. We're going to put you through a murder maze. Sorry, what?
Yeah, excuse me?
No. Fucking hell.
Well, honestly. I suppose that's like, there's like other things like Amanda. She was a drug addict. She needed help. She was ill. But this is what she gets put into a fucking trap instead.
And I think, and we said it before, actually. We were like, some of his victims were like, why are these people need help? They don't need that. Yeah. Amanda's someone who thinks it's helped her, but it hasn't because I'm going to say it hasn't, because even when she's laying the traps, again, she's just out to kill people. She's not out to try and help them.
No, so it hasn't helped her. She's becoming a murderer.
Yeah. But the worst thing is she thinks she's doing right. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's even worse.
yeah. When you don't even know what you're doing is wrong.
She was, I think, just so overcome with like wanting to please him and kind of hating him at the same time. I think she just kind of gone mad at that point.
Yeah, she was so desperate for him to approve of her.
Yeah.
It was probably a bit of fear. Like, he's put her in a trap twice. She knows what he's capable of. She probably is one of those where it's like, oh, would you rather be feared or respected? And it's like she kind of does both, but she wants to be loved by him. She wants someone to love her, and it's just really fucking what is it where you end up falling in love with your capture?
Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah. And now she knows she's losing him, so it's even worse.
Yeah.
So much emotion.
It's fucked. There is a lot of emotion.
For a Saw film, there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
So you did mention earlier about the maggots. So I had a little bit on SFX. Oh my God, it's like so bright on my screen tonight. So Bosman described the hardest scene to film. I can't actually remember where I'm getting this from because I took it as a screenshot. So I'm just going to quickly. Oh, this was Wiki. Good old Wikipedia, eh? So Bosman described the hardest scene to film was the pig scene. So it was I was going to say the hardest to watch, but I take that back. Explained they had to rush and it involved filming so many moving parts. The pig carcasses were made out of foam, rubber, and latex. The pig props had live disinfected maggots attached with honey. How do you disinfect a maggot?
Big soap.
Good question. Don't know.
Just there with like toothbrushes. Like I don't know. I didn't realize maggots were infected.
No, nor did I.
To a point that you had to. Oh, I don't know. So that, yeah, you are correct. There were maggots there, which would have been horrible. Especially all those screams are just real. Like you can just tell. For the rat trap, Wannell originally conceived it as a trap that would fold a person into a box, though it eventually morphed into the twisting of body parts. Bosman wanted to have a trap that involved freezing someone to death, since the films had already covered burning to death, bleeding to death, and being cut to death. A body cast was made for Deborah Lynn McCabe for the freezer room trap, but due to safety regulations, a person can't be entombed, so only a front or a back cast could be on the actress at any given time, which is why you kind of, the way they've shot it, you can kind of see that. And for the classroom trap, Jailer Ross's character was originally going to be hanged from the ceiling by meat hooks, but it was decided against since he would not have been able to rip the chains out himself as the script called for. It proved to be a challenge since it had to be done with prosthetics and practical effects. So once again, this is why I do like the Saw films, is a lot of it, or as much of it as I can think of, is done with practical effects. And again, it does mean that some of it we don't see, like the exploding head, but there's enough to imply it. And we said this with some of the other films, like the first one, you actually don't see a lot of the foot removal. You just suddenly see no foot on, and you see Adam's reaction, which is what makes you freak out.
Yeah.
So it's enough. I
Right.
really do want to know how they did more of that surgery scene, but again, I imagine it was just a lot of like dummies and close-ups and gore and latex and all the good stuff.
All the good shit.
All that good shit.
Yeah, so another little bit of trivia that I found out was that one of the producers, Greg Hoffman, he produced Saw 1 and 2. He actually died before the filming of this one. And there is a character called, it's a forensic Hoffman, who's in the beginning of the film. And that character is based on Greg Hoffman, and really nicely from Saw 3 onwards, all of the he's credited as being a producer in all of the rest of the films, which I think is super sweet and a lovely tribute. So Greg Hoffman is sort of credited in all of them posthumously. So I just thought that was really nice.
What a weird thing to be like, oh, they're actually really sweet, these films.
Yeah, cute.
No, that is really nice, because I imagine it's a lot of work and long hours working on these sort of films. So they probably do get very close to each other. So it probably fucking hurts when they lose someone. And that's just a nice tribute.
Yeah. And also Lee Whannell and James Wan, like they've been working on this Saw project. I mean, there was a short film before Saw came out. Like they had been their baby for so long, since they were students practically. And I don't know how much Greg Hoffman was involved in that side of things, but it's likely that they could have known him for a long time.
Yeah.
Because Saw, like, and the sort of idea of it had been going for so many years before the film actually came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
crazy.
Yeah, I think it goes back a long way. I mean, I think we mentioned it in Saw 1, like how much of an impact these films have had on everything,
culture.
Like from culture, from like, rides to just to mazes, to so many things.
I think as well, because they've been going so long, like different generations of people know them, but also even like our parents who, even if they weren't like horror fans, still knew what these were because so many people were talking about them. So it is crazy.
Sure.
I was trying to think, was Hoffman because right at the beginning, actually I completely forgot it, was when he's like, oh, all he had to do was tear himself away, and there is like one character who's like, all he had to do, because you do look at that trap and you're like, are you kidding? Like that, it's all nothing more. That's all he had to do. So I did think that was quite funny.
Yeah. You I mean, I probably won't keep this in, but you potentially see Hoffman in future films. Potentially.
I think I just need to watch them all. Just need to binge them. But yes, well. Okay, so how are we going to do this? I can't remember how we did it for the other films. Did we pick a trap, or I think the first film we picked a trap.
Yeah.
Is there a trap in this you think you could survive?
Honestly, no, because the ones Amanda sets are unsurvivable.
Yeah.
And then
it's like I feel like I could do the acid one, but it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't. I wouldn't be able to survive it because it's impossible. And then the others, I guess you're relying on someone else.
Yeah.
So no.
That's actually a bloody good point. You are literally at their mercy. I've already blanked on the husband's name.
Jeff.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff.
Like, this is the thing. Jeff is supposed to survive. So I feel like if we were Jeff, we'd be okay. And again, we may not have been chosen, but because we don't have his anger issues. Also, I've not lost a child, so I can't be like, I'd be absolutely fine in that scenario. But as I said, I think at the end with Jigsaw, I'd try and slow down a bit because I'd want my wife to be okay. So I think I might be able to survive if I was Jeff, but any other character I'm fucked, because as you said, you're relying on other people.
Yeah, agreed. I think if my name was Jeff, then essentially.
Well, thank goodness we're both guys with the name Jeff.
Yeah, thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord. I think that's what's so hard about this film as well. Like the daughter, again, is like such an innocent bystander just thrown into one of these traps.
And it's like, completely innocent.
It's fucking horrible.
Yeah. How many spookies are we giving Saw 3? And what are we rating this spookies out of 5? Chantelle.
So I think my favorite spooky moment, I'm gonna have to go with the pig guts. No, the rib rip. I don't know.
Rip.
The rib rip. Because again, I just love when she holds onto the rope and she's
that's
just
pretty
like,
badass.
It's pretty badass. Like, if you're gonna go out, like, and you know you're going out, go out strong. But also because I think that was such an evil trap. I kind of love how she faced it. So I think I'm gonna give it that moment. And I think I'm gonna give this I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Nice.
Because I do really like it, but it's not my favorite Saw. And I think I gave the first one like 4. I think I just edited the video, so I know I gave it 4. I kind of want to go second though. What about you? Yes, right. You have a little yawn.
So my favorite spooky moment will probably be the Mr. Twisty Man at the end.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Horrible, awful, slow death. It's a horrendously slow death. Slower than the others, I would say.
It's so
even though the
good.
freezing one is pretty slow. And yeah, so I mean, that's just one that just stuck in my head. It was either going to be that or Troy, with the rips of the chains, but I'm going to go with Twisty Man.
Yeah, fair.
And Spookies out of 5, I'm going to agree with you and say 3.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. To be honest, I think my feelings towards Saw films in general is about a 3 out of 5. Like, they're pretty fun, and they don't really go above that too much for me, just because I think they're just kind of, they're not like my favorite films ever, but they're really fun to watch. And I always have a good time watching them. I mean, if we carry on covering these films, we're eventually going to get to the real stinkers. So we'll find out.
Watch the scores go down. Yeah. Amazing. Well, that was our Saw 3 episode. Do check out our other episodes. We've covered 1 and 2 so far, not past, because that would have been weird. But yes, check us out. You can watch us on YouTube. Hey, just say I've completely lost thought what I was going to say, but follow us on all the socials to see what our next film's going to be. How have we got through the whole episode so easily, and I'm fucking up at the end? But we are back with season 8, and we are a mess. You are welcome, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't
die. Fuck this.
Game over.
Game over.